Today we're going to start our 10th chapter named quasi contracts. The main topics that we're going to discuss today are what is quasi contract and what are the different types of quasi contract. Then the last part, the difference between contract and quasi contract. What is quasi contracts? Quasi-contract refers to the obligation created and imposed by law in the absence of any contract to that effect are called quasi-contract. Means a certain extent. Quasi means a certain extent or almost. These contracts are created and imposed by law in the absence of a contract to that effect. That's why these contracts are otherwise called implied contracts or constructive contracts. For example, X has forgotten his bag containing certain trading article at Y's shop by mistake. Again, I'm repeating the transaction, the example. X has forgotten his bag containing certain trading articles at Y's shop by mistake. Here, Y is under legal obligation to return them to X. So these types of contracts are called quasi contracts. It is an obligation which is created by law in the absence of a contract. It is defined in Indian contract as quasi contracts are certain relations resembling those created by law. It resembles to relations created by law. So quasi contracts are contracts that are created and imposed by law in the absence of any contract to that effect. Then what are the essential features of implied contract? The very first one is actually it's not a real contract. It is an obligation imposed by law. So please go through that example. One person is forgotten his bag in a shop. So the owner of the shop has the responsibility or the have the is under a legal obligation to return to that person. That types of contracts are called quasi contracts or implied contracts. So it's not a real contract. It is an obligation imposed by law. It does not arise from any agreement, but it's a creature of law. So it is not the contract comes does not arise from a agreement. It is a creation of law. Then quasi contract arises from a duty of a party and not by promise. Actually, it is a legal obligation. We can say it is a duty of a party. It is not a promise. Grants to one person a right to money or its equivalent or to some other benefit and imposed a liability on the other person in connection with such monies with money or its equivalent or some other benefit he has already received. Under a quasi contract, it grants one person the right to get money or its equivalent or some other benefits and impose liability on the other person in connection with that money or with that thing. Then the right under it is available against specific person and not against the whole world. Okay. Then when an obligation created by quasi contract has not been discharged, the injured party is entitled to receive the same compensation from the party in default as in the case of an ordinary contract. So it's a legal obligation. So if one person means if the party injured when the obligation is not created when the when an obligation created by quasi contract has not been discharged by the person, then by the person in default, then that injured person can uh, claim for damages or claim for compensation. Topic is different types of quasi contracts. The very first one is claims for necessary supplied. Actually, there are five types of quasi contracts based on five specific circumstances or conditions in which they are performed. I mean, in which the contractual obligations or rights. Very first one, claims for necessary supplied. If necessaries are supplied to a person who is not capable of contracting, the supplier is entitled to reimburse the following from the property of such person. If any necessaries, basic necessities are supplied to a person and who is not capable of entering into a contract, then the supplier must reimburse the price of necessary supplies to him suited to his condition in life, and price of necessary supply to anyone whom he is legally bound to support, then money advanced for the above purpose and in the above circumstances. So I will explain you through an example. X supplies Y. Y is a lunatic person. So X is supplying with necessary suitable to their standard in life. So X is entitled to claim the total amount of such supplies from the property of Y. So that's called claims for necessary supply. There is a supply to a person who is not capable of entering into a contract, then the supplier must reimburse the price of necessaries from the property of such person. The second type is reimbursement of payment made by an interested person. According to section 69, a person who is interested in the payment of money which another is bound by law to pay and who therefore pays it is entitled to reimbursed by the other. For example, F holds a land in Bengal. F is a person who holds a land in Bengal on a lease granted by B, the zemindar. As the revenue payable by B to the government was in arrear, his land is advertised for sale by the government. Under the revenue law, the consequence of such sale will be annulment of F's lease. So, to prevent the sale and the consequent annulment of his own lease, F paid to the government the sum due from P. It was held that P was bound to reimburse to the F the amount so paid. That means if a person interested in the if a person who is interested in the payment of money which another is bound to, actually the other person is bound to pay, so the other person is entitled to be reimbursed by the other. Then obligation to pay for the benefit enjoyed from non-gratuitous act. It says that if a person lawfully does anything for or delivers anything to another person with the intention of payment for that, and such other person enjoys the benefit thereof, then such other person is bound to make compensation to the first person in respect of the thing so done or to restore the thing so delivered. For example, a businessman leaves goods at B's house by mistakes. A is a businessman who leaves goods at B's house by mistake, and B treats the good as his own. Here, in this situation, B is bound to pay for A. So this is that obligation to pay for the benefit enjoyed non-gratuitous act. If a person is lawfully does anything or delivers to another person, and the other person enjoying that benefit, that such other person is bound to make compensation. Responsibility of finder of goods. A person who finds goods belonging to another and takes them into his custody is subject to the same responsibility as a bailey. For example, A, a guest found a diamond ring at a birthday party of B. A told B to the other guest about it. He has performed his duty to find the owner. If he is not able to find the owner, he can retain the ring as a bailey, only as a bailey. That means he has to take care of that particular good. Money paid or things delivered by mistake or under coercion. A person to whom money has been paid or anything delivered by mistake or under coercion must repay or return it. For example, a railway company refuses to deliver up certain goods to the consignee except up in the payment of an illegal charge for carriage. So here the consignee paid in the sum charged in order to obtain the goods. He is entitled to recover so much of the charge as was illegally excessive. So money paid or things delivered by mistake or under coercion, they have to repay it. The last topic, difference between contract and quasi contracts. Contract, it is a full-fledged contract, while a quasi contract is not a contract in reality. In a contract, there will be all essential elements. All essential elements of a contract will be there, while it is not available or there lack essentials of contract in quasi contracts. A contract is an agreement where there is no agreement in implied contract. Then contract creates contractual obligation, while in quasi contracts, obligations are created and imposed by law. Then it is founded upon general principle of contract, while it is founded upon the principle of justice. These are the different differences between contract and quasi contracts. Um, the main similarity between these contracts are both resembles that are created by contract. I mean, the outcome of the quasi contracts resembles that created by a contract.